today I want to focus on this idea of learning to walk in the light of God. You know, last week we had a really powerful, inspirational talk, but this, I want to add to that. What does it mean to walk in the light of God? I mean, technically, we're all walking in the light of God, but we don't all know it. Some of us, the light's a bit dimmer, or what seems to be dimmer, but that's never a lack of God. It's not like God says, oh, but batteries are low today, guys. It's not like God's having a problem. We're always in the light of God because we are in God, but we don't always see it. And that's because of our choices. In other words, in a moment when you say, this person's left me, I'm upset. I have a bill I can't pay, I'm upset. All of those things become veils between us and God. Anything that seems like it has power over us becomes another veil between us and God. So when we say, what does it mean to be in the light of God? Just use your imagination. Light doesn't just mean like light, rays of light. It means consciousness. I mean, if I'm in the light of God, Mother Teresa's walking into communities of diseased people and not thinking twice about it. Because she's like, what? I'm walking in the light of God. Some people go, oh yeah, but I heard she doubted sometimes. Yeah, because you have a mortal body and it tends to whine about things and make you doubt. But the divinity kept overriding the other because she would walk in and do it, do the work. So that's that. In a sense, you can say it's almost like you're accessing a superhero. I'm walking in this light, and isn't this weird? I'm going through a divorce, and yet I'm nowhere near as upset as everybody tells me I should be. Mm-hmm. I'm changing jobs, but somehow I feel okay. You see? So it's this amazing vibe, faith. And it's, not to be confused with denial. Sometimes we have something going on. Again, your car says E, and we go, no, God will take care of it. God's like, yes, and I would pull over if I were you. No, God's going to take care of this. Car breaks down. God, why didn't you take care of me? Those are moments of our denial. That's not to be confused with faith. That's why it was said to Jesus, throw yourself off this cliff and the angels will catch you. But Jesus was advising us when he says, don't tempt the Lord. What he's saying isn't don't tempt God. He's meaning don't tempt the Lord. I, and you and I too, we are God made manifest. We are the light of God. When we start to believe in illusions having power over us, the temptations, the illusions are tempting us to forget who we are. So Jesus was saying, do not tempt me to forget who I am. Do not tempt me to jump off to prove something. These are things we have to know. Would he have been caught? Could he have levitated? If he walked on water, why couldn't he levitate off the cliff? It wasn't he was saying, oh, that's a scary one, man. No, it's a deeper message that's being given. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The flesh is always going to be calling us to believe in limitations. What we need to say is, don't tempt me. Affirm, I am as God created me. Don't tempt me. It's not, if you tempt me, I might fall. Well, we already know I might fall. But what I'm doing is I'm accessing my divine self and saying, don't tempt me because that's not the truth. Even if I were to believe it for a moment, it still isn't the truth. So do not tempt me to lose my center of consciousness. So what is it like? What does it mean? What's it like? What does it mean to walk in the light of God? And it doesn't take much to imagine it. It means I'm in communion with God as much as possible. Does it mean I walk around constantly obvious, reciting prayers and affirmations? Not necessarily. But in my mind, I might be. You might not hear me doing it. But being in constant communion with God is almost like having just internal dialogues that are spiritual instead of weird. Instead of the little weird obsessive thoughts. I wonder how the kids are. Oh, they're so cute. Oh, when I get home, I'm going to get a photo album. And I think I'm going to do this. Oh, I can't. I have to call so-and-so first. And in the mind, that's all actually worthless talk. And if thoughts always create, what are my worthless conversations doing? Creating a worthless life. So learning to be more often in communion with God, the presence of God. Be with me. When I'm struggling, be with me. When I see myself picking on myself, judging myself, what's that about? Isn't that funny, God? That's why Jesus says, think of God, call God Abba, Father. In other words, think of God as something so close, it's actually there and you're communicating with it. Hey, God, isn't this, I got a weird one for you today. Probably never heard this one before. Have conversations, living, beautiful conversations. Letting all the stuff of the inside being exposed to the light of God. Walking in the light of God means here I am. My flaws, my thoughts, my blisses, my perfectionisms, all the stuff, whether I consider it high or low. Walking in the light of God is like saying, I'm going to start walking in love instead of fear. That's partly what it means to say I'm walking in the light of God. The light of God beams down in and around me, and it fills me. So I have like more of a sense of love and forgiveness instead of fear and judgment. If I walk around judging myself or others, I am not walking in light, I'm walking in darkness. And darkness begets more darkness. So we watch out for that. And we say, okay, that's not serving me. That's not really what I'm looking for. Walking in the light of God is synonymous with saying, I'm choosing to be awake instead of asleep. Just like you wake up, the sun comes in your room maybe in the morning, you wake up, it's morning. So walking in the light of God is synonymous with saying, I'm awake. And one other person on this planet that we all know of said, I'm awake. That was Buddha. Now, they asked Buddha, are you a god? Or, what are you? He says, I'm awake. It's a very beautiful, simple answer. But what that means is I walk in the light of being awake. Being asleep brings us all kinds of problems because it means we're feeding off of illusion. We're living off of illusion. Just like when you take nutrients, those nutrients become part of your system. When you walk in the light or in the dark, those things become part of your system. And then it begets more of that. So if you were to say, I'm just going to quickly break down that concept of Buddha, I'm awake. Some of us in this room, we're like, oh, we're just kind of students on the path. And then there's Buddha. Wow. Wow, what a magnificent consciousness. That's idolatry. Become it. If you like him, become it. Otherwise, drop it. If you don't think you can become it, stop talking about it. But don't look at some spiritual person and go, oh, if ever I could only be that spiritual. Then do it. And if not, quiet. Just be quiet then. Because you're actually diminishing your identity when you sit and talk about how spiritual that person is, but not becoming it yourself. It doesn't take that much. Some of you are already 50% into Buddha consciousness, but don't realize it. Well, let's look at it as stages. First, if you can own that the world is asleep, you're already on your way into Buddha consciousness. Because that's one of the things he figured out. Oh, wow. I was asleep and now I'm awake. So if you just get that, now if you don't get that, that's fine. We'll accept that you're not really awakening much of the Buddha consciousness yet. The Buddha means awake, and it doesn't mean, I will not say it's the highest level of consciousness you can attain, because it is not. But it is it means I'm awake on an earth plane. I would rather be awake completely to divinity, which I'm going to get to. But I'm awake as a human, I'm completely awake. How many of us can say we're there? Well, it's simple. Do you recognize the world is asleep? The world is a dream. Even if you don't totally get that, will you at least be willing to accept that it's true or possible? If you are, you're already on your way into Buddha consciousness. Then you have to committing to a life that doesn't feed the illusions. Because if you say you get it and you're waking up and it's an illusion, then you'll not succumb to your addictions as much. Because to say, oh, I'm totally awake, this world's an illusion, give me some more of that, whatever it is, I need another drink. If you need another something to make you feel better, then you don't get that the world's an illusion, or you wouldn't have such reactions to the world. So just accept it's asleep and be willing to sort of not be hard on yourself, but let the addictions and compulsions start to fade. Just at least a bit, whether it's through a 12-step program or whatever. So some of you are already halfway into Buddhahood. Pretty good. Because there's people that are Buddhists that aren't even first step into Buddhahood because they don't understand how simple it is. They think it's going to take 18, lifetimes or whatever. No, just accept the world's asleep. And accept, if I'm going to know that, I better practice it by demonstrating that I'm not going to succumb to my addictions like I used to. Third step, you have to own responsibility. If responsibility is not in your vocabulary and not in your consciousness and behaviors, it doesn't work. That's part of affirming that I'm awake. How can I be awake if you're still the problem in my life? I would be awake. I'd be totally Buddha by now if it weren't for you. You don't get it. You just said it. You just confirmed you really don't get it. Oh, I do, or I would if it weren't for them. So responsibility is a major part of awakening to enlightenment or to being awake. And the last step is realizing, okay, responsibility also means between being awake or asleep. That's my responsibility. But the final step is I have no choices but God. I don't have anything left in me that wants anything other than what God is. Now that's the hardest step, and that one God will work with you on. So don't worry about that. But we just learned to start saying, I have no will but God's. Make sense? And then we're there. No will apart from God's. And it's like, wow, fantastic. This is when I'm starting to realize the third one was responsibility, and the fourth one is to take responsibility to have no choice other than enlightened choices. So if someone reaches enlightenment in the earth plane, they wake up and they go, wow, I got it. On the other side, they're awake. It's pretty fantastic. How you doing? I'm awake. Wow, excellent. That's not the highest level of consciousness. Something really unusually wonderful is those who say I'm awake, and that's a Buddha. And there are many Buddhas that have existed, but that's a Buddha, a person who's awake. They get it that the world's an illusion. And those other things I mentioned. But then some of those go, they say on the other side, hey, what's going on? I'm awake. And they say, but you seem like something's still not quite right. Yeah, there's other people in the world that aren't awake yet. And I'm going back. Rather than I'm awake, I'm done. I'm going to go back and help these other folks. That's called the Bodhisattva, which is actually higher in consciousness because you're willing to say, not only did I wake up, I'm so awake, I can risk going back into the world of illusion and getting caught again. Because it doesn't take much, man. As soon as the doctor spanks your butt, you're already gone. The Buddha's gone. The baby's like, what the heck was that? And you've lost the Buddha consciousness again, which is okay because there's all kinds of reasons why it's okay. I won't get into that right now. But Bodhisattva, I'm going to go back and help others. That's fantastic. And then there's a point that we recognize, and there is no problem. Everyone's just asleep. There's no need to go and help anyone per se. I actually see everyone in their completed stage, no longer even needing to go back to help. So that's a really strange, because it's almost paradoxical. So I get it, and I'm going to help. I get it, I'm going to help, and not from a place of everyone needs help. It's from a place of, isn't this great? And they call that the good news of the Lord. That's what that meant. It meant someone woke up, Jesus, for example, to a point of saying, I'm not back to help you as though there's a problem. I'm here to tell you the good news of who you really are. Because in the real who you are, there is no problem. Nothing to even fix. So, in a sense, walking in the light of God means at some point that awakening process happens, that kind of a Buddha level of awakening. Walking in the light of God means to commune with God, but it means to surrender to God. Humility. Really, 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 it's humility. Help me with this, help me with that. It's really strange because we grow and we read books and we're doing meditations and gongs and all kinds of cool things on the spiritual path. But to really get to that next level, it's to say, I know nothing. Guide me, God. As much as I know, guide me. As though I know nothing. Not the New Age affirmations of, I'm amazing. I am chic, fabulous, and hot to handle. I'm some spiritual amazing master. And you have that on your little card 10 times a day. I am amazing. I'm amazing and prosperous and cute as hell. That sounds really good and empowering. It doesn't sound empowering. Flip it over and it's blank and go, I don't know anything. I don't know what beauty is. I don't know what health is. Instead of I'm healthy and vibrant, and I don't even know what health is. I don't even know what this body is for. I don't know what money is for. Because the last shall be first, the first shall be last. Meaning, when I say I don't know, I'm then filled with the only consciousness in the universe that knows everything, which is God. My I don't know becomes I know, which means I'm awake. Again, we reach that Buddha-like I'm awake. Also, walking in the light of God cannot be without this: healing your relationship with the Father, God, the Mother, God, and the Christ, Jesus. But what I mean by the Christ that we are. You can't say I'm awake, I get it, I'm walking in the light of God, while still harboring issues with the Divine Mother, right? Or the Father. Oh, God, I don't really like that term God, because God's a male. It isn't. But our heads, my religion told me God's a male, God's vindictive, God's out to punish me. Wow, it sounds like you have some healing to do. Well, it's not my fault. My religion taught me that. That's back to responsibility. They might have told you that because they're disturbed. But why did you believe them?
You know better than.
So, hey. There's a Trinity of God, and we have to come to peace with it, mainly because you're part of that Trinity. How can you be whole if you haven't come to peace with yourself? So, it's hard for us to say, I am the Christ on earth. Oh, no, Christians will go, that's Jesus. Other people will go, but I'd rather be the God, of Greece, a god or goddess of Greece. Because we'd rather not own that what it means by the Christ, it's my membership in the Trinity of God. There's also an unholy Trinity on this earth. And like everything, we're choosing. If I'm walking in the light of God, I'm following the Holy Trinity, which is my Father Creator, my Divine Mother that guides me and works with me every day. She's my healer and my guide. And then there's the Son, S-U-N, the light of the universe, which is my presence, my soul, my being, my light that I am. And I need to start owning that. Not just going, Jesus, it was really great that you were the light. I wish I were, but I'm not. That doesn't help. All that you ever saw Jesus being, if you're a follower of Jesus, it's something he says you are, and you'll get this. You'll do all the things I've done and more as soon as you start accepting who you really are. There's an unholy Trinity that people tend to listen to more than the Holy Trinity. The unholy Trinity is called politics/government, science, and religion. Why are they the unholy Trinity? Because they keep lying to you and making you think that they are God. That they are what determines peace in the world. Government made war again. They're bad. No, they're not God. They do what they're going to do, and it's part of the dream. It's part of the illusion. Don't listen to them. Think about this. If you didn't get this, in the book of Revelation, there's what they call the Antichrist. Bless you. The Antichrist. Watch out for the Antichrist. And the false prophet. Watch out, everybody will say, for the Antichrist and the false prophet. But the book of Revelation tells us the Antichrist and the false prophet are coming out of the world of politics and religion. The evil that's going to come and try to destroy the world, according to the book of Revelation, that many religions listen to and follow, are telling you it's the Antichrist consciousness in those worlds. Science is just the tools they use. But religion, making themselves gods, that's a false prophet. Antichrist means somebody that wants to believe in something other than God. And we all have all of those in us. But learning to wake up and walk in the light of God, we remove spiritual surgery to remove the antichristness that's called the ego. The ego manifests, it refracts. God refracts into what we call Father, Son, Holy Spirit, let's say. Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, like in Hinduism. The Trinity. But the unholy Trinity, it's the same. It's within us. And it's not like we just need to say, dear Jesus out there, save us from it. Because responsibility means, and isn't this strange that the it is right here within myself. Every time I make something of this world seemingly having power over me, you've just resurrected the false prophet again. You just made your own version of religion. Every time you fault find with somebody, looking at somebody, yeah, they're nice, but it's got to be something to dislike about them. You know what you're being? Science. Getting your microscope and putting them under the microscope going, oh, I see you. You like music that is not supposed to be liked. You part your hair wrong. Finding fault. And we do that to ourselves without realizing it. We think, I'm not that hard on myself, but I can sometimes be hard on other people. You can't be hard on other people without first being hard on yourself. The only reason you're hard on other people is because you're seeing in them all the things you dislike about yourself in the first place. Back to responsibility. So if we're going to develop this ability to walk in the light, man, it means learning to trust God. And that means having to look at all the stuff that we haven't always trusted. And we can say, oh, no, I trust God. When we look carefully at ourselves, we can see how quickly we don't trust. It doesn't mean like you're literally saying, I don't trust you, God. Every time you believe something has power over you, you're actually committing a lack of trust. You're being faithless. Now, it gets even weirder. When I look at you, and you walk in this room, let's say, and one person walks in this door and they look beautiful, like, wow, look how striking. Another person walks in the other door and they're ill, obviously physically malformed or ill. They're actually tempting me to not believe in who they really are, because that person's not beautiful based on how they look. Their temptation to show me beauty, for me to buy it and believe it, I've taken the bait. Not saying they're doing anything overtly. I'm saying I lost faith in who they are by seeing them as pretty instead of just as a brilliant light. And this person that walked in sick, I am succumbing to the temptation to believe that they can even be sick. Even if you go, I'm such a compassionate person. When I see sick people, I always go, oh, that's not compassion, it's faithlessness. Because you're believing that that person is what they're showing you. And nothing that this world shows us is real. Nothing. The world is a lie. There are veils between the truth and us. And our job is to learn to have the veils lifted. So, wow, aren't you beautiful? God, gorgeous. In my mind, I can go, it's so funny because that's how I see you. But I'm choosing instead to see you as God sees you. Beyond the apparent beauty, oh, look at you. Beautiful light. I don't see it now as male or female, just beautiful light. Oh, and look at you over there, appearing to be sick. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that you can't be? I'm here with you. If you fall, I'm going to help you up. I'm going to play the game while I'm here on this world, on this planet, but I'm not going to believe that you're capable of being sick or flawed in any way. So my job is to see everything differently. And the best way to do that is to say, God, how would you have me see this? When we are living in the light of God, guys, we're not as quickly drawn off center. But if we are, we do our best to bounce back. Why? Because I'm living in the light of God. I mean, it's kind of like, it's a light switch, but switch your thinking. I switched into fear for a moment. Wait, what was that? Switch the light back on. Okay, whew, I'm back. The sooner I can bounce back, probably the less damage I've done to myself. Right? In consciousness, in karma. You'll tempt yourself to feel less often regretful if we don't steer off as far as maybe we once did. So we're not pulled off center as quickly. Just a quick aside to that. This concept, for example, of addiction, it tends to pull us off center. That's what that's about. But the whole world is addictive. It's not just drugs and alcohol. The fact that you can even look at human beings and think that they are what you think you see, which is why, again, the yogis say, don't believe your senses. Oh no, I want to believe these senses. Wow, that person looks hot. You're already out of your mind. And there's a play on words with that. Man, you're, poor thing. What? I'm just, wow, look how hot. Oh, you okay? You can be all right? What do you mean, am I going to be okay? I'm just admiring how gorgeous that person looks. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, how would people respond if you talk to them that way? I'm sorry to hear that. What do you mean you're sorry? Well, you're out of your mind. What I mean by out of your mind, I like the play on words. Let's go with that for sure. But I mean you're out of your soul, because your soul would not see them as that thing. So what do I do about that? Beat myself up? No, just see it and go, wow, that was funny. For a moment there was a soul that is an infinite part of God that I just stuck into a body and said, wow, you're cute. Is that it? Is that really? I mean, is that all I can put out in this world? Is that as high as I can get in consciousness? Is evaluating bodies? You just say to yourself those kinds of things and laugh at it. And most importantly, give it up and ask to see the person as God sees them. All the uglies and pretties and the ups and downs and the lacks and limitations, as well as the abundances that the world tries to present, they disappear. And then you can do anything with it. You could walk on water because you don't buy it anymore. But you can't just walk on water like it's one skill you learn while still judging people for what you see. You have to be willing to release judgment in general, in mass, to be able to get the walking on water thing down. And our minds believe walking on water is a little harder than something else. In reality, there's no difference. But for now, we believe that there's a difference, so we got to kind of play the game. But we're so disturbed because the ego, the unholy trinity of the ego, runs our lives. Think of it in terms of, let's say, dopamine. Dopamine's something that they find, they're researching constantly, you know, but they're finding this dopamine. What is it? It's like there's something that gets released in the body that becomes like a euphoria. I got to have a drink. Oh, I bet that's stimulating. Oh, she's gorgeous. He's gorgeous. And all it is there's a chemical version of what's happening. There's also a psychological one. We're off because we're not so in our spiritual self that all we perceive and experience is love. We're instead close the door on love. I want to be little today. I want to think a little thing. I like you, I don't like you, as opposed to I'm blissed out. It's my little evaluations. So this dopamine gets us kind of stuck on this idea of highs. And then they find that dopamine also creates complete lows. So it's the strangest thing because that dopamine becomes a chemical version of the ego. I'm going to get you chasing things that you think are going to give you something. And then when you find out it doesn't give you something, you're going to crash. Very consistent with the teachings of Buddha. The problem in the world is this, and you're not going to get what you want out of the world, and then you're going to crash. So dopamine gives that same thing. But now people are starting to realize, studies have been done, that when people's stinking cell phones ring, they have a dopamine release. Why? Because I don't think I'm very valuable. Oh no, I guess I was wrong. Somebody out there likes me. There's this dopamine release because your phone beeped. You know, and it was somebody trying to sell you something you don't need, and you, oops, now the dopamine drops. Oh, I guess I'm not worth anything. Your little box, this little box, this is a soul that's part of a collective of souls that co-created the entire universe. The entire universe. And we actually think this little cell phone thing has power over us. Oh my God. I feel such a rush of self-worth. Anyway. I mean, I hope you can even wrap your mind around that idea. Are we really that small that the ringing, the buzzing of this little thing, box, it actually, guys, think about it. Please, compassionately think about it. It releases a false version of self-worth they're finding in people. Really? Yeah. how many friends do you have? Oh, I have lots of friends. No, you don't. Those are numbers on your little page in your groups or whatever. Friends? No, those are friends. I've seen some great portrayals of this and comedy kinds of things about that. That false version of friend. I have 1 million friends now. That's because they don't know you. How many of them that know you still like you? Well, that's not doing so well. Got to admit, that one's not doing so well. But so guys, when you look and see, I have more friends. This is weird because as a public figure, they call this. When my team says, oh, we're up to 1,000 this or 10,000 that, I get why that's seemingly important. But when they say to me, if they say, you have 5,000 friends on this thing you're doing, excellent. Then instead of going, because what they'll say is, how do we get to 6? I'll say, how do we get to 4? And they're like, what? Yeah, how do we get down to 4? Right? You've heard me say this. And they're like, this guy's like nuts. And I'm like, I want us to figure out how to drop 1,000 of them that never even open the page. I don't need fake friends. You see what the metaphor? I don't want people that look like they're something. I would rather have 100 engaging people than 1,000 not engaging. I do this all the time. People think I'm nuts. We have a volunteer list of people that want to be on our volunteer list to participate when we do cleanups and property and all that. It could have 50 people on it. We send out an invitation and 10 of them won't respond. 10 of them will say no, the rest will show up. That's pretty cool. But I respect even the ones that said I can't be there this time. The ones that don't respond, I'll give it 3 shots. They're gone. And if that was you, I'm sorry. But they're gone. We just delete them. Clean. To know what is instead of to wish what could be. I just let it go. And again, people have such a hard time with this. But this is the whole, we don't need to worship false idols. We don't need to worship what the dopamine tells you, hey, this is going to be great, and then crash again. What if we unplug ourselves, guys, from the matrix? What if we unplug ourselves from the dopamine? What if we unplug ourselves from the addictions, the things that are looking like they're going to get us high, as well as the things that are going to drop us down? The illusions. Do you know that even if I say, dear God, I have an illness and I would like you to heal it. Here's an interesting thing. Whatever you think the illness is, you just said you have it and want God to fix it. If you have it, you're creating conflict within your being because you're saying, hey, God, I have this, but I want you to remove it. God's going, but if you have it, you must have seen a value in it, so you must want it. So God, in the Course in Miracles, Jesus is saying, I need you to learn that you have no value in those things, and then they'll go on their own. Amen. See, as soon as you say, I have this, please take it away, you're affirming that the thing is real, that it's there. I'm not saying you're bad, but you're human. And that creates conflict. We're actually believing in it. Why would you like it to be gone? Just out of curiosity, what do you think the answer is? Why would you like it to be gone? Because it's making me sick. Now you're telling me it has power over you. God, there's this thing that has power. Watch the logic. There's this thing that has power over me. Wait a minute, only God has power. But this thing has power to hurt me, to kill me even. Make it go away. And God's going, you just said that something is God and you want me to make your God go away. Where's your free will? I would like you instead. That's why A Course in Miracles is such a psychological program. It says you need to learn to think differently. Let's go ahead and consider letting go of your opinions and value. Value is a very big word in there, but we'll use a safer one for everybody. Your opinions about disease. Would you be willing to let go of your opinions about the disease? That it's good, that it's bad, that it has power, that it's random, that it was genetic? Because all of those take the power out of you. Would you be willing to just let all that go? And however much you're willing to let that go is how much then it can be replaced with something different. But free will, man, it's a tricky one. We were given free will and we have these thoughts. And we're allowed to have any of these thoughts. We have to learn the difference between the valuable and the valueless. False idols are all the valuelessness, all the things that have no value, all the things we thought had power over us. So I'm going to close with this. We're in this walking in the light of God, and I'm going to say this very simply. There are stages you go through when you're even walking in the light of God. There are stages. What's the obvious first stage? For most people, I really like that talk about walking in the light of God. I'm going to start doing that. What's the first stage? I am now a student on the path. Anybody that's on the path at all doing anything is then already in the first stage of walking in the light of God. I'm a student on the path. Even people that are sincere followers of a religion, I don't care, Catholic, this, that, whatever, religion, they're still students on the path because they believe in a God and they're students on that path. Does that make sense? Okay, so everybody's students. Also, the people that are students on the path are the people that often think they're not students. They think they're amazing. The ones that really think they're amazing, which is a huge portion of the population of Sedona. But the people that walk around claiming that they're so amazing. Oh, I'm a master of this, and I'm a this, and I'm a, you know, and I'm surprised I'm even here. I should just be bursting into light because I'm so amazing. They are students they're in step one. Students on the path. Just see it, don't judge it, don't nag them about it, don't try to prove it to them, just see it and kind of smile. Oh, yeah, it's one of those. You know, students on the path. Then there's a point where you become a master. That doesn't mean you put on a turban, you wear a certain robe. It doesn't mean you have people worshiping you. It just means you've gone from being a student to a master. It's another level. One of the primary ways to know if you've stepped into mastery is to know whether you're applying the things you've gone through, the things you've learned. Oh, I've heard all kinds of different meditations. There's people that walk around going, oh, I'm not a student, man. I'm a teacher. Really? How so? Oh, I know 50,000 different meditation techniques. Really? If you're a master, why did you need to learn that many? How come one didn't work? I mean, that's my thinking, you know. So it's, what are you applying? It's the simplest, most amazing thing. What are you applying? You could be the simplest person applying only one technique, but really doing it, and other people doing 1,000 not doing it so well, and one person's actually more of a master. So it's those who integrate. And I'm talking about all lessons, including like, you know, when we slip and fall, when we judge, when we get upset, when we look at a relationship that kind of, was kind of painful, to be able to say, what can I get from this? Which means mastery involves responsibility. Back to that again. You can't be a master if you're still blaming other people. It really doesn't make any sense. Masters also know how to release codependence and addictions. If you're going to step into mastery, you'll know when you're moving into mastery because you'll go, I never lost the humility of being a student on the path. I have learned to take responsibility, addictions included, which means I can see through that. I can see through that, what that's about. I learned to be responsible enough to say, wow, I'm going to start integrating what I need to be learning from this. And students on the path are still going to be saying things like, guess what? There's this special drug or plant or something that can make you have higher consciousness. A student on the path could still think things like that and be on the path. And there's a lot of them. Oh, I'm into this and that and the other, and this will make you enlightened. And they think they're masters, but they're actually students. But we still have to call them students because they are on the path somehow, right? But a master would say, how could that thing give you higher consciousness? Doesn't it make sense that only higher consciousness can give you higher consciousness? Oh, okay, I get it. That's a person that's embracing mastery. I'm saying this is inevitable for all of us. We're not going to just one day go to heaven. You grow to heaven. And the stages are simple. You got to recognize you're a student on the path first. Oh, I'm not even a student. I'm just completely lost in the illusion. Okay, go for it. Knock yourself out. At some point, though, every being will become a student on the path. And every student on the path will grow into mastery because no matter who you are, you're going to eventually go, I got to get this. I'm a student on the path, and all that meant was I started knowing who to blame. When I didn't know any better, I didn't think about it. I just went, well, that's how life is. I was almost more enlightened when I wasn't into anything. As soon as I became a student on the path, I, became, very good at blaming people. But the masters no longer do that. They go, oh, I totally get it. My lessons, what did I learn? I get why they were in my life, etc., etc., etc. So then the next stage is, yes, we actually graduate into being gods and goddesses. That's a weird one for me to describe because it sounds so surreal. Oh, do we get garlands to wear and white robes? You look the way you do. But what starts to happen is the way you see life, you start to actually see things. Like life is starting to be perceived almost more like big picture. You're not able to just focus on little details anymore. You start to see the big picture, and that can be a challenge. Because I tend to see the big picture of things, and when I'm trying to convey that to people that are focused on the little things, it doesn't work. I'm going, well, see, because here's what's going to happen. Well, no, that won't happen. Here's what's going to happen. 1 + 1 is 2, unless you add another 1. The bigger picture, I can see it, and that reflects us, demonstrates us shifting into God, Goddess consciousness. Another thing is you start seeing things archetypally. Your mind starts to work almost seeing things as mythologies, like patterns. You don't see details again. It's the same, similar to 1, but you start to see the meanings of things rather than the details again. It's almost like you're going, oh, I get the deeper meaning of that. Wow, I can see that multidimensionally. You can't unless you've already started accessing that God and Goddess. And if you have, and this is making sense, then you get to sit and go, that kind of applies to me. And I'm telling you, you cannot be a human and see like that. So you need to accept, not boastfully, but on some level, this talk is confirming I'm getting somewhere. I do tend to see things more kind of big picture, archetypally, I being any of us. I'm starting to see things in archetypes. And even when it comes to love, I don't see things in special love anymore. Wow, nice to meet you. And in the back of our mind, you seem like just the right person to be my God. You seem like just the person that's going to take away all my issues. Or you seem like just the right person that I can blame everything on. Those are codependent relationships. Course in Miracles calls them special, but we shift from codependent relationships to oneness relationships, which means you'll be coming with this or that lesson. Whatever's there is there. You're neither good nor bad. The lessons are still going to be mine, and I still need to learn them. See? Is that making sense? Even relationships, it shifts to oneness. And that one's disturbing, man. That one's hard because, you don't feel as caught up. You don't feel as, oh, time's moving on. I better get a partner soon. I just saw last night that movie we all have seen many times, It's a Wonderful Life. And there's a great scene because he's talking to his angel and he says, so what happened to Mary? The girl that he was in love with, but now he's seeing life as though he were never existed. And the angel goes, oh, I don't want to tell you. No, what happened to her? I left her. What happened to her? Oh, it's horrible news. I don't want to tell you. What happened? He said, she's become an old maid. She never got married. I'm like, people actually thought that at one time. You're not married? Oh, you poor thing. It's either because you're ugly or dysfunctional beyond ways we would like to understand, or it's a curse from God. And if I were one of them, I would say, or it's because I woke up. They used to have this title, Old Maid, to something that could be great. But no, we're going to give you a box. And what you do is you step on the box like it's a stepping stool instead, and you go, I got it, I'm awake. Old maid, really? I don't feel like one. I'm a lot happier than you. I smile more often than you as well. I won't tell you why, but I smile. And it ain't the dopamine. It's just the love. So we realize there's this way to rise, and we go from student, master, God, Goddess, and then we become the Christ. Meaning our divine, complete divine remembrance. And that's when we really, I'll only describe it in one symptom, so to speak, which is when we surrender to only seeing as God sees, only thinking as God thinks, only feeling as God feels. I mean, that part is, it's going to sound simple, but it's the most difficult. Because the other still involves graduations, tests and graduations and awakenings. This one is, I have nothing left. I mean, that's complete surrender into oneness with God. And we can't just say, oh, I'm going to do that right now. There's layers within us that think there's still value to not being completely in a state of bliss. Oh, I don't agree with that. Well, I know people would like to react with that, but there are all kinds of reasons we still believe there's a value to this world. I'm not cursing the world. I'm just saying we think it has value and power over us. So is all that making sense? Stages of consciousness. And I'm not saying that you're one or another. You'll find, if you listened to me, you'll find that you're a bit of this one and a bit of that one. But most likely, we got to get the student one down. Even though there's bits of the others that could be awakening, the one that's lowest is the one that would likely be the fullest before it reaches the next, right? Master, God, Goddess. And everything starts shifting, and all of a sudden, bigger pictures. All of a sudden, we realize there's something shifting in me. I used to do spirituality. Now I am. See that shift? That's mastery. Integration. I've told you all stories of things like when I was a kid and had children. You know, I was like, oh, I want to make this as spiritual as possible, this whole birth and the children and all the good, wonderful things, man. Let's take time to pray, mom's tummy, you know. Let's set a spiritual book on the tummy because the children can absorb that vibe. It's really amazing, you know. So, you know, there's all this great stuff. And let's certain tea to create better milk, breast milk. And you do all those things. But it's still doing. You can also pause, sit, and just call in the presence of God. And the rest would be taken care of. But people don't know how to be without doing yet. So I was out there buying, you know, I bought them pajamas with the chakra-colored buttons, believe it or not. Chakra-colored buttons. I had to special order this. You know, and you have to zip it up all the way around the back. You don't want to be missing any chakras, man. So the baby was always, you know, bundled with it so that it could help make it enlightened. And I'm going, this is interesting because the child's not going to wake up going, I am a bodhisattva because of my chakra pajamas. Instead, it's going to go, I need therapy because I have claustrophobia and we don't know why. Amazing things, how two sides of the story. My poor kids, man. But the intention was good, but wow, chakra pajamas. And yes, all the actions were congruent with wanting to live a spiritual life as a kid, wanting to bring that in. But it was still doing. And there's a point where, God, just the being. A semi-related story, and also related to this time. I remember I was one time sitting with a person, you know this music, Kenny G. And, you know, sometimes when you're sitting with people like that, you don't want to say too much, you know, celebrity kind of behavior, you know, but we're talking and, you know, just nice exchange. And I said, you know, I know it seems kind of strange, but I'm going to say this anyway, because it's true. I said, you know, and I'm not really like into the person's music, you know, I just happen to not be that. But I said, I got to tell you something, man. And this is probably when I'm about 40. So this is, you know, 25, 7, 8 years ago. And I'm sitting with him saying, 40. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. I was 40 or so. It was probably about 17 years ago. And because, you know, now I'm 60. So I'm saying to this person, I'm saying, your music is beautiful. I said, but I want to tell you something. I have a daughter, probably because of the pajamas. I said, she deals with a lot of issues. And I said, she doesn't sleep. She has a lot of anxiety and she doesn't sleep well. And your music's the only thing that can calm her system, her nervous system. And he was seriously sitting there, all this curly hair, you know, and The whole time I'm talking, he has his hand on his heart and his mouth is open and I'm like thinking, do I need to say more? Yeah, because the music was really calming and really, really nice for her nervous system. So it was really helpful. And I'm thinking, okay, so thank you. I'm thinking, and he goes, because I said, my daughter's, 17 or whatever at the time. And he goes, I can't believe you have a 17-year-old. He didn't even hear the compliment. He's got stuck on I have this 17-year-old, whatever age she was at the time, 20-year-old. And he's like, I can't believe you have a 20-year-old. I'm like, dude. Yes, but the point was, and we all, when we walk in the light of God, please remember, the things we bring to other people are what matter. Your music, your love, your forgiveness. It could be your smile. Do not underestimate the number of things it can be. Don't think it's always some spiritual teacher standing and lecturing. It's not that. How many different ways? There are more ways that we can make a difference than there are numbers of people on the planet, because any one of us can make a difference in 100 different ways. So what does that math add up to? I don't want to guess because, as you could tell, I'm not great on math. But because I'm 68 now. Anyway, so is all this making sense? Walking in the light of God. And as much as I'm detailing it and explaining it in the stages, keeping it humble. Walking in the light of God. Do I need to know the stages? It helps for you to see where you are, but the simplest piece is to start every day and do your best to stay in communion with God. And to talk with God even when you're brushing your teeth. Even when you're brushing your teeth. Anything you're doing. Anything. And in the shower. And when you're eating dinner. And, to just have you could be raking leaves and to have this subtle thought about, here I am, God. Thank you. Thank you for this and that in my day. Does God need to be thanked? When you're thanking God, you're connecting with God. It isn't God that needs the thanks. It's that you're communing, so you're now connecting with God, which is always a good thing. So I appreciate you being here, and we're going to spend a moment just in a brief meditation. A few centering breaths, please. And let's set aside all the stuff of the world. Let's share a visualization. Beginning with imagining a time when we might not have been consciously on the path. Even if you have to imagine it might have been another life and you were doing things not really much related to the spiritual path. Even if you make it up, or it's when you were in an addiction or whatever. When you seemed to not be on the spiritual path. Just take a moment to see that. Just remember. And if you had to talk to a child right now and tell them something you learned from that time, come up with something. Come up with something. What could you tell them you learned about that time of your life? The lessons you were going through, what you could extract, what you could extrapolate from that experience. What might you tell them? And seeing ourselves now for a moment on the spiritual path. What does our life look like when we got on the spiritual path? Started eating differently, or exercising more, or praying, or whatever it happens to be. I started practicing forgiveness. I started reading spiritual books. See that happening. And now ask yourself, what did I get from that? What could I say I learned from being a student on the path? Not what books you read, what did you learn from them? Not what lecture, what meditation, but what did you get from that? This service today, what did you learn or hear? And look, as that student on the path, look at the world and your life. And think about maybe some of the challenges or patterns that have not been so healthy out there in the world. My issues with the environment, my issues with war, whatever it happens to be. And then try this. Try to imagine that you can see a bigger picture. What if you could see the bigger picture behind the details of war and so forth? What does it really mean? What does war mean? Might it not be something like, I guess that might symbolize conflict within human souls? What is disease? You know, look at things and then ask yourself, how might it be seen from a bigger picture? And then imagine being a being filled completely with light. No definition, complete being of light. And imagine that all the things you just saw yourself experiencing in the past or present, the archetypes or the events and the child you're talking to, what if all of that is one little dot within the mind of you as a being of light? So picture yourself being a being of light, but there being a little spot, a little dot, the thinker, the one processing and so on. And allow the light to just completely dissolve that dot of thinking. The contemplations, the lessons, what I got, what I didn't get, and so on. The light just becomes so bright, the other disappears. And what that means is that we've gone through the stages that I somewhat described, from not being on the path to being a student on the path to being a master. Master because you started looking at what you learned from this and that. And then looking from the big picture, the archetypes. So in this one exercise, you went from not even on the path to student to master to God, Goddess, to the Christ, which is the light that I am. And all my thoughts become a dot, and the dot disappears in the light that I am. And then I'm home for this moment. The next question is going to be, how long can I maintain this? And when I slip, I'll bounce back, because I'm at very least a master today. But I am the Christ. I am as God created me. And I will to be the Christ on earth. And so it is.